Hello, my name is SaydaHope, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today's video is going to be an interview. So sit back and enjoy part 1 of my interview with EA. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and just hang on because you lagged a little bit there.
I'm nervous about this.
Well, I mean, fortunately I'll see it, and you start just becoming wallpaper. I'll be like, wait.
Maybe throw it in the chat and you'll be like, you're frozen. Stop talking. So I'm e.a.wright. I'm a new emerging author, I'd say. I've got several things in the works, particularly a children's book that I'm hoping to release this year. And then I'm kind of dipping my toes into YA fantasy, as well as maybe a little just like fantasy fun romance short stories.
Aw.
Yeah, so that's me.
I also did want to talk about the children's book. Is that actually out now? Is it for sale, or is that also planned to be released? Okay.
Yes.
What is your date?
So I'm actually... Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. What I was just going to say, what's your general idea for when the children's book is coming out?
Good question. So I definitely wanted to self-publish in 2021 if it didn't get picked up by a traditional publishing company. I've done 4 or 5 different unsolicited manuscript like queries to, different publishing companies, and I haven't heard anything back. Fingers crossed, you never know. But I'm actually going to try. I just discovered there's something called Is it PitMad? Hold on. It's on Twitter. PitMad. PITMAD. And I guess it's an official like pitch marathon that Twitter does for new unpublished authors. They do it quarterly. You can pitch up to 3 times during the day. If an editor or a publishing company is interested, they'll like it. And then you're supposed to go talk to them like DM. It's like a really weird, but like totally social media.
Like a really weird and total social media. And then it froze.
This is going to be the hardest thing for you to smash together.
I guarantee I will be keeping some of these freezes in there. So just...
Oh, great. It's a total social media, modern day way to pitch your book, which I just think is so interesting and fascinating.
Really cool.
And it makes sense.
Okay, so go ahead and feel free. Let's discuss your children's book.
Cool.
If you want to say, like, briefly kind of what it's about. I don't think children's books have so much issue with giving away plot, but, you know.
No, not at all. I called it Do You Know What Art Is? Mm-hmm. I'm an art teacher, and so I actually teach at the high school level, and I never really thought about it in that sense of like what art does for really young kids. Like we always, throw crayons at them and we're like, just color for an hour so I don't have to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. The classic all red cow or something like that.
Exactly. We focus a lot on art when they're children, like when our kids are children, but we never really look at what that does for like a person's like psyche, and like what it does for our confidence and what it does for our ability to learn like the sciences and maths later on. Last October, I was right in the middle of just like writing my YA fantasy novel, and I just needed to take a break, and I got really into drawing on my iPad, just like working on stuff. And I thought, you know what, I'm doing all of this like doodling and drawing and using Procreate and Illustrator. I should I don't know, maybe focus this energy into something. I thought, like what do I know? Like, what do I know really well? I know art. So I was like, I'm going to sit here and think about this, and what would I want to say about art? Like if I was going to draw or write a children's book and illustrate it, what would I want to say? I literally spent like every waking moment for 2 weeks illustrating it, and it was done. It was like the fastest thing I think I've ever completed in my whole life.
That's really cool. I did not know that you were an art teacher. That's really, really
Yeah.
neat. I took some art classes many, many years ago when I was a kid. I've always loved art and I've always wanted to be good at drawing, but for some reason that's not my thing.
It's okay.
I saw when I went to your webpage, I did actually notice where it said illustrated by you as well, and I thought, oh, that's really kind of cool. So it was kind of funny because it actually made like the character image and the artwork that you have for the cover of the book, it made it feel much more personal instead of it feeling like it's just some company made children's book. It actually changed my perspective on the book reading that you had illustrated it, because I was like, okay, so it's going to be told her way visually and word. So I think that's really cool. And I had a couple questions that I just thought of when I was hearing you talk about it there. Oh, that's right. One of the things I was going to mention was how you discussed how, we don't always think about it as adults, what that does to a kid's psyche, art. And I find that interesting because there is a facet of adulthood, obviously, in like psychological medicine, where they use art. Now, I mean, granted, like movies aren't always real, but how many times have you seen the therapist sitting down with the kid and be like, draw the scary monster, honey. Show me what's going on at home.
Exactly.
So it is kind of interesting. Art is definitely something that is utilized very psychologically. So I think that's a very good point on your part to take that and actually like make a book with it and want to tell a more innocent version of it instead of it being medicine.
Yeah. Well, and then on top of that, it's also like, it's not just informing the general public or whoever picks it up, but it's also like telling kids and parents at the same time who are reading it to their kids.
Yeah.
Like, art it's fun, it can be complex and it can be simple and it can just be what it is, but it also like teaches us to be confident and teaches us to think outside the box and teaches us how to solve problems and like all these really important fundamental skills, but we don't always make that connection.
Yes, and I think that's really good too, because like that, I think that's always been part of the reason why I thought I wouldn't be good at children's books. Is because it's such a different type of narrative where you are kind of narrating to the adult, sort of hinting at how they should read the book or even lessons they can take from it and actually apply it to their kid. It's not necessarily always just, here's just a book about a frog and his day at the pond.
There's 2 or 3 variants of like the children's book. There's like the one that teaches the message, and then there's one that teaches like content, like, oh, yellow is on the sun, and like that's more like specific and more connection-y. So I feel like those are the 2 big main categories, and then like the third one would be like how to count, like those more simple ones.
Yes.
And so I feel like the more widespread and the more complicated almost that the book is, it speaks to the parent and it's teaching a message to the child, but then it's also like it's almost full circle and it comes back to the parent, and it kind of like, oh, I have forgotten these inherent things that I knew as a child.
Yeah.
And it almost reminds them, oh yeah, this does do something for me. I should do this more often.
Yeah.
As something simple as like books on kindness and books on how to be brave and books on how to share, like those are things that we're trying to instill in our children, but they're also trying to remind us as adults that we need to continue these things.
Yeah, it's all kind of a part of that, sometimes you have to stop and take a breather and sort of reflect. Yeah. And it really makes you think too, like just imagine the age group of kids that went to see Disney, you know, the Disney movies, where there really wasn't anything like that before, and how really kind of like our generation has grown up on learning so many lessons through art, through essentially, you know, the illustrated life instead of real world
Totally.
stuff.
How do you
It's very
how
cool.
do you think we got so many millennials who wanted to go be an artist or become famous on Instagram? Like, we are the creative generation.
Click here if you want part 2 of my interview with EA, where she talks about her YA fantasy. And be sure you check out her website, e.a.wrightsbooks.com, and follow her on Twitter so that you can stay up to date on her book's release date. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.